Okay, good morning all. So with your confirmation, I will start with the class. So please confirm regarding the visibility on the screen and also the voice clarity. So if you confirm, I will start. So once again, I'm repeating, please confirm the visibility on the screen and also the audio clarity. So the topic displayed is the nearest neighbor classifier. So we were discussing the nearest neighbor classifier in the previous session. So we understood what is a nearest neighbor classifier, how it is different from decision tree and the rule-based classifier. So we are maybe almost in the end of module 4. So in module 4, the three main classifiers we have covered are decision tree, rule-based classifier, and the nearest neighbor classifier. So all the three classifiers have one thing in common. What is it? So for the given input or for the given data object or record, it will decide to which class it belongs, class A, class B, or class C or D. Okay. So that is the common goal among all the three classifiers. One more common thing that is there is all the three classifiers are supervised, meaning that they need training data where previous observations are required for all the three classifiers. That is one more common thing. But there is a difference. What is the difference? The first two classifiers, that is decision tree and rule-based classifier, will build a model based on the training data. Okay. So whatever historical data you are giving to the classifier, it will use it and it will construct a model. How the model will be, we have already explored it. In decision tree, it will be arranged in the form of a hierarchical tree structure. Okay, so that was the story of a decision tree. In rule-based classifier, it will be arranged in the form of rules. Rules will be derived from historical data and rules will be created. Okay. So those rules will be used to decide to which class the new input belongs to. So that was the case. So in decision tree and a rule-based classifier, we had a model, a readily available model was there. But we saw in the case of a nearest neighbor classifier, there are no models. So it is not taking the effort of building a model. That is why we had labeled it as a lazy algorithm. Okay. So it is not building any model. Instead, what it will do. So we had discussed that. So it will store the training data in its data structure. Okay, it will store it in the data structure. And when the situation arises, when the need arises, it will use the training data and decide to which class the new record belongs to. So that was what we had seen. Okay, how it works I had explained with a small simple example. This was the example. Okay. So as you can see, the nearest neighbor classifier is having the training data. So what is the training data in this example that you can see? So points P1, P2, P3, P4, P5 is the training data or the previous observations. Okay. So point P1 is a data structure which contains the image of a cat. So that observation or that historical data is already there. Once again, point P2, same thing. It's an image of a cat, or point 2, P2 is an advanced data structure which contains the data about the image of a cat. In similar lines, we have P3, so it is the image of a horse, P4 dog, P5 some pig. Okay. So this is the training data, which is stored in an advanced data structure. The nearest neighbor classifier will keep it ready. Okay, we understood the classifier will not build any model out of it. So just it will keep the ready. Similar to how typically students will accumulate the materials and keep it ready, and they will be activated only on the previous day of internals. And similar lines, data is ready. Okay, given a query image, okay, given an input, given a record, and you ask the nearest neighbor classifier to tell to which class it belongs, then it gets activated. Then it starts working on the training data. So this is the situation. This is how things have been organized in nearest neighbor classifier. We also understood how it works. Okay, I took a very small simple example and I tried to demonstrate how things are working in this algorithm. So you gave a query image. Okay, so this query image will also be represented as a point. So this point X that you can see here. Okay. Now what the nearest neighbor classifier will do? It will try to measure the distance between this new image or query image or data point and other existing training data points. Okay, it will measure the distance. Okay, so what is the distance in this context? We understood. Distance is not taking a ruler scale and measuring how many inches or how many centimeters. Okay, it is similarity. See, query image will have some attributes. Similarly, the training data, that is P1, P2, P3, will have some attributes. So how much they are related. So that is the meaning of distance in this context. Now, how to compute that? How to determine whether the attributes of the query image is matching with the attributes of training data like P1, P2, P3, and if it is matching, to what extent it is matching, how to determine it. So to achieve that, we have a mechanism. We have the Euclidean distance. So how that is used, we also explored that through a problem. We saw a problem where we understood how it is done. Okay. So using the Euclidean distance measure, we try to find how much this new data object or query image X is similar to other data points. Okay, how much it is similar. So that is step one. Next, once we get to know that this query image is somewhat similar to few set of data points, we will test to which class these data points belong. For example, I had explained, we found out this query image X is somewhat similar to P1 and P2. Next, we will check to which class P1 and P2 is mapping. We have those details because it's a training data. P1, P2 is a training data. It's observation that has been recorded already. So we understood point P1 and P2, these data structures are pointing to class cat. Okay, so it is pointing to the class cat. So what this algorithm will declare now? So this algorithm will declare the query image X that you have given. So is containing a cat image. So this is how the nearest neighbor algorithm works. We also understood few situations where we may have some ambiguity or confusions. So what was it? What if data points belonging to different class is matching with that particular query image? Okay, what if in this case? So we also understood we will use a technique called as voting. Okay, where the maximum matches will be taken into consideration and we will declare that input record or data to be belonging to that specific class. Okay. For example, here itself you consider, we will assume X is belonging, I mean, closely related to three data points, P1, P2, P4. Okay. Now the classifier is confused. Should it declare X as a cat image or a dog image? Okay. So this will be resolved by using voting mechanism as I already told. So in the available matches, you can see two image is of cat and one is of dog. So as per the maximum voting rules, so X will be declared as an image containing a cat image. Okay. So this was a voting mechanism we had seen. So the bottom line here is the nearest neighbor classifier will help us classify the input data. Okay. It will use the training record, but it is not building any model and it is not keeping any model ready, okay, to process your input and decide on the class. Okay, it is instance based. Okay, so given a input data, then it will start working and it will decide. Okay, that is why we even call it as an instance based algorithm. Since it is not building the model and it is not keeping it ready, we call it as a lazy algorithm. So we saw a few terminologies. So we also understood a numerical problem. So whatever theoretical aspects we had discussed, its reflections you could see in this numerical problem. So we measured the Euclidean distance between the observed data, I mean, observed values or test values, and the training record. Okay. We got this result. We got this result. Out of this result, how many values should be taken into consideration? So that is the value of k. This will be given to you in interviews or exam. So consider three nearest neighbors, meaning that the value of k equal to 3. So that is why this algorithm is even called as k nearest neighbor algorithm, kn. Okay. We'll study the details of it in next semester, machine learning. This is just a starting point for you. So the value of k equal to 3, what does it mean? It means consider the three lowest values. Okay. So in my example, the three lowest values are record 2, okay, record 3, and record 5. If k equal to 4, you need to take the fourth one also. Record 4 also you need to take. But since in the question it was k equal to 3, I will take the first three lowest values and its corresponding records. Okay. Then I will check to which class these records belong. Okay. So in this case, you can see all the three records belong to the pass class. So no need of any voting mechanism here. So directly you can declare the test record to be belonging to the class pass. So we had already seen this. And whatever theoretical aspects were discovered, I mean discussed, and whatever problem we had explored, so a summary of it you will see at the end in the form of algorithm. Okay. So this is where we actually had to start. So this is the k nearest neighbor classification algorithm. So what do you mean by k? Just now I have briefed you. So what is the nearest neighbor in this context? We have understood. So we'll try to arrange it in a more formal way, okay, using some symbolic notations. That's it. That is what we are doing in this algorithm. Whatever was discussed, whatever plans we have explored up to this point of time, we will try to arrange it in the form of a sequence or series of steps using some symbolic labels and notations. Okay. So I think the algorithm is obvious to you. Step 1. So k. So the value of k will be given. So how many nearest neighbors need to be considered? Let us represent it as k. Okay. So all the training examples, let us represent it as d. Okay. So training example means what you saw here, this one. So that is what I have marked here, you can see. Okay. So all these training examples that were stored in the advanced data structure of this algorithm, we will call it as D. So next, continuing with the discussion. So the test example, we will call it as Z. So that is X dash, Y dash. So to make things simple for you, I have marked there itself in the problem itself. You can see I have done the required marking. For example, in this problem, we wanted to determine whether a student will pass or fail, okay, based on the previous observations. So this is the raw data or marks of the student. Okay. So we have called it as X dash and Y dash. The same reflection you can see in the algorithm. Okay. Now what you need to do in step 3. So please note it's a for loop. It will iterate starting from the first record in the training data to the last record. Okay. So for each example, test example, do what? So you need to compute the distance. That's it. Between Z, that is the test record, and X comma Y that belongs to D, that is the training record. So the same we are done in the problem. So that is the reason why I introduced the problem and then I came to the algorithm. Try to remember what we did in the algorithm. Okay. So you see this situation. Things will be clear once again. What we did in this problem. So we took this train. Sorry. So we took this X dash Y dash and we computed the distance between this X dash Y dash and the first record. Okay. We did this. We computed the distance to this. Next, what we did, this is the first iteration of the for loop in the algorithm. Please note, this is the first iteration. The algorithm will take the test values, that is x dash, y dash, okay, and it will determine the distance of x dash, y dash to the first record, that is x comma y, that is 4 comma 3. In the second iteration of the for loop, what will happen? So it will take x dash, y dash once again, and it will determine the distance to the second record. So now 6 and 7 will become x comma y. Okay. So similarly, it will progress to different iterations. This is third iteration, fourth iteration. Okay. So what is happening here? So the nearest neighbor algorithm or k nearest neighbor algorithm is taking the input data or test value, and it is computing the distance of this test value to the distance of the training records that are available. Okay, that are available with the algorithm. So distance is being computed. This step, this one. So what you are seeing here, okay, is happening in the for loop. This is happening in the for loop. Okay. So now we obtained the distance as a quantitative value in this example. You can see. Okay. So what I just now demonstrated in the problem is happening in step 2 and 3. Okay. So step 4, select something, select dz as a subset of d. Now what is this dz? Okay. So dz is nothing but the k closest training example, that's it. For example, I'll try to relate it to the example. Um, in the previous problem, it was given, consider 3 nearest neighbors, okay, meaning that k equal to 3. So which were the 3 nearest neighbors we have considered? So the 3 nearest neighbors are nothing but the 3 records with the lowest Euclidean value, okay, or outcome, okay, or Euclidean measure. So it was this one, record 2, record 3, and record 5. So that is nothing but dz here, okay. So out of the records, record 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we selected the subset, that was record 2, 3, and 5. Okay. How those records are, how that dz was selected from d based on the k nearest neighbor, k close training subsets, examples. Okay. So d is the training records, dz is the selected record. Okay. So this was step 4. Okay. So step 5 is the voting mechanism that I told you just now. Okay. For example, 3 points have been selected, P1, P2, and some P4. The example that I demonstrated, P1 and P2 is that of cat, and maybe P4 is that of horse. Okay. So to which class now your input data belongs? Okay. So as already discussed, it is to the points which point to the, I mean, maximum number of recurrences. So that will be taken into consideration, or maximum mappings to the class. Okay. So that is what is happening here. You can see the argument max. So it will select the maximum classes to which. Okay, I think there was some technical issues. Just a few seconds. I'll start back. Okay. 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 So I was discussing step 5. So we understood step 5 is a step which will select a class based on a maximum voting mechanism that I previously discussed. Okay. So this was your majority, I mean, a k nearest neighbor algorithm, which is working based on the majority voting mechanism. Okay. So hope things are clear. Please practice all this stuff. because practice is the only thing that can ensure clarity. Okay, just listening in one iteration and keeping it aside will not ensure clarity with respect to what is being discussed. Try to explore further in the textbook also. So this was topic 6, where we understood the nearest neighbor classifier with a problem and algorithm. Next, moving to topic 7. So topic 7 is once again decision tree. If you remember, after completing the discussion about decision tree, I told you that I'll start the problem later. I'll take up the problem later, and I'd immediately jump to rule-based classifier. The reason was I was searching for a problem that can ensure your understanding with respect to the decision tree implementation. Okay, so I have selected a problem which will really help you understand how to construct a decision tree. Okay, how to build a model for a decision tree. So before going into the problem, you need to understand few terminologies here. Okay. So the first terminology here is entropy. Okay, so what is entropy? So it is a measure of disorder. That's it. Impurity in the data. Okay. So I have data. I have a data here. So how much impurity is there in the data, or how much disorder is there? Okay. So that is entropy. For example, I will ask all students of computer science of all different branches to assemble in Paramna. Okay, so all the students belonging to all the branches, they will go there. Okay, so that too, specifically if it is on Wednesday, it will be difficult for me to identify which student belongs to which semester, maybe. Okay, so that is an entropy. You can see a complete disorder, a complete chaos there in the data set. It is difficult to identify which data element belongs to which class. It is completely heterogeneous. Okay, we have variety of data. There is diversity in data. Okay, so that is entropy. And if that is the case, it will be difficult to determine to which class the data will belong. Okay, there is a challenge. Now, how to solve this problem? How to overcome this situation? Okay, so this can be solved by using the next term that you are seeing called as information gain. Okay, disorder is there in the data. So if you try to reduce the disorder, or if you try to remove the disorder, okay, you can clearly identify. Okay, so okay, this is the class to which this data belongs to. Okay, so this is done using information gain. Now you can see I've written a graphical representation. So this was my data set. It is, we will assume it is completely disorganized. Okay, it is completely in a chaotic fashion. Okay, so this is a data set with very high entropy. Okay, now if this is a case, deciding to which class this data belongs to will be a very tough job for the algorithm. Okay, it will be difficult even to build the decision tree. So now what I will do, I will partition this data. You can see I've divided this data. Okay, so how it has been divided? It has been divided or partitioned in such a way that it is difficult for me, it is simple for me to identify the class to which the data belongs to. For example, I have divided this data into maybe some 4 parts, you can see. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So the data that was completely mixed up, okay, that was completely heterogeneous, I have tried to segregate the data here. I have tried to divide the data into parts. Okay. I have split it, have partitioned it. Why this has been done? To ensure the disorder reduces, the chaos reduces here. Okay. And how this is done? This is done using what you can see information gain. Okay. So information gain will be used to split the data. See, once again, I would like to remind you, in one shot, you cannot understand the complete concept here about entropy, information gain, and how it is used to build the decision tree. As I will always tell you, it is a step-by-step iterative process. So in step one, in the first iterative explanation, you will get some things. In step two, you will get some more information, some more knowledge. So you need to link between the two. So what you understood maybe in the first explanation, in the first set of theoretical philosophy, what you understood, and in the second set, what you understood, you need to create a link. Okay. So that is the skill of synthesis that I was talking about. Okay, no problem. We will go step by step. We will go in an iterative way, in an incremental way, and we will try to explore how decision tree is constructed by using entropy and information gain. And you know what is the use of a decision tree? Decision tree is a model which will help decide on a class. Okay, the input whether it belongs to class A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. Okay, so this will be decided by the decision tree. So we cannot directly take the data and start building the decision tree. Okay, I cannot start building it. The reason is that is what I told you. Data usually will have very high entropy, meaning that it will be in a very chaotic fashion. It will be heterogeneous. Unwanted data, I mean, wanted data, unwanted data, everything will be mixed up. Okay. So the only way here is take the raw data, okay, which is having very high entropy, which is disorganized, okay, and divide it. How you divide it? Using what we call as information gain. Partition the data, that's it. Now you can start relating it to the decision tree. Please remember, decision tree will have nodes or different branches. The branches are nothing but the split or partition that you are seeing here. That's it. Okay. Try to relate. Why we have done the partition? Just to decrease the disorder. So starting from the root node to reach the leaf node, we have done the split or partitions. Okay, because the input data that will enter in the root node can go to a leaf node. And what is a leaf node? You know, in a decision tree, leaf node is nothing but the final decision. Okay. Each node is a class. I mean, each leaf node is a class. So that is a final decision. So the bottom line here is I'll go slowly and in a systematic fashion, because as I already messaged you in the group, it's a bit complex. This particular specific aspect in decision tree is very challenging and it's a complex part. Okay. And we can conquer this complexity only if we progress iteratively, in a step-by-step fashion, in a slow fashion. We should not hurry up. Okay. So definitely, we can ensure we can conquer the complexity and ensure we have understood this. Once again, I'll demonstrate a graphical representation here. I'll be changing the sequence. I'll not go page by page, page 1, page 2, page 3. Okay. Just see here. This graphical representation, which was at a later part, I think it is appropriate to take it at this point. This was my data set. Okay, just see. What is there inside the data set? Do you have only one type of data? No. That is what I was talking about, the heterogeneous nature of the data. If you just do a simple analysis, you can see in this data set, we have different data types, like you have alphabets, okay, A, B, C. You have special characters like star, question mark, and also we have numbers like 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is a heterogeneous data set. Since it's in a chaotic fashion, it is completely disorganized, the data is completely mixed up. Okay, so what is its entropy? Is it a low entropy or a high entropy? So obviously the entropy is very high. Now I cannot make statements like low or high. In data mining, it should be represented quantitatively, numerically, so that algorithm can compute it. So if I tell high, the algorithm will not understand. I need to put it in numbers. Okay. So one more information for you. Entropy will be in the range of 0 to 1. Okay. 0 to 1. A high entropy is at the maximum boundary, that is 1. This is the maximum boundary. Okay. This is the max. Okay. This is the minimum. Now, what do you mean by high entropy? It's completely disorganized, data is completely mixed up, it is heterogeneous. In that case, it will have a value 1. This is the case here. You can see the data set is completely mixed up with different types of characters. It's alphanumeric. Okay. So the entropy is high, it is 1. Now, the decision tree should be involved, okay, to decide or split this data and decide on the class. Now, what are the classes you can identify for this data set? So 3 classes you can identify. One is class A, which is alphabets, class B, which is numbers, and class C, which is special characters. So 3 classes. So now you should build a decision tree in between, which will take this data set, which is heterogeneous, and decide on a class, okay, which is homogeneous, because we understood all the elements inside a class, okay, all the data objects inside a class will be similar to each other. A will be having a similar characteristics of that of B. B will have a characteristic similar to that of C. Similarly, if you come to numbers, okay, so this data object 1 will have characteristics similar to 2. So we had already discussed all these aspects. So now, if you want to construct a decision tree, the thing is, you should reduce the entropy from high to low. That's it. Before that, I just missed out a point here. Now, what is the entropy of data that is there in the class? You should tell me. Okay. Just now we discussed what is the entropy of a data that is there in a data set. This was discussed. Okay. We saw what is the entropy of a data that is there in a data set. We understood the data set will have heterogeneous data, that is entropy is very high. Now, what is, we will come to the other part. What is the entropy of the data that is there inside a class? So obviously, as per the discussion that was conducted in the previous instance, data inside a class will be very similar to one another. Okay. So what is the entropy here? Entropy is 0, meaning that data is in its pure form. In class alphabets, you do not have numbers like 1, 2, 3. That is the case. Now the data is impure. Please understand. Okay. In class numbers, I do not have alphabets, or in class special characters, I do not have numbers. If you introduce that, then it will become an impure data. Okay, meaning that its entropy will increase. So the bottom line here is the data set is heterogeneous, okay, with very high entropy, that is entropy with a value 1. And your class, the data in a class, okay, so it will be typically pure in nature with entropy 0. So entropy is across a spectrum between 0 to 1, where 0 is min and 1 is max. Now you may ask a question, what if I get a value 1.1, 3.1? Okay, yes, you can get these values in computation, but if that is the case, you will take it to the maximum boundary, that is 1. So I want your confirmation regarding your understanding of entropy, because this is the starting point. Okay, so I want your confirmation, because as I already told you, we will progress step by step in an iterative fashion and try to conquer the complexity of constructing decision tree using entropy and information gain. Okay. For which I need your confirmation. Please confirm whether you understood the discussions up to this point of time. Once again, I'm repeating the question. Please confirm whether you understood whatever was explained. So as a starting point for constructing decision tree, we understood what is entropy. Okay, what is the challenge if entropy is high, and what is required, what you need to do. Okay, so you need to reduce the entropy. So from the scale 1, okay, you need to reduce it and take it to maybe 0 or some value that is near to 0. It is not like you should always take it to 0. it may be difficult. Okay, at least try to reduce it. Okay, value 1 is not acceptable. Maybe a value of 0.4, 0.3, 0.2. Okay, that will be acceptable. 0 will be very happy, but not 1 or 0.80 or 0.95. Okay, so maybe this is not acceptable. Okay. So this is what you need to do in the problems. So we declared the problem statement. The problem statement here is a data set, a raw data set, which has very high entropy. Okay, should be managed to a level where the entropy is reduced. Okay. Now, how to do this? How it can be done? So we will use the help of a decision tree, meaning that you should construct a decision tree. Okay. Now, a question to you: how you will distinguish, or how you will identify A, B, C belongs to class alphabet? How you will decide on this? Okay. How you can decide? So the answer to this question is you can decide based on the attributes. That's it. Okay. So if you remember the example that I had given even in internals, how you will identify a student as belonging to MIT or an outsider? Okay, using attributes. What are the attributes of a student belonging to MIT? Okay, so he'll be wearing uniform. He'll be with a ID card. See, those are the things that help us identify this student belongs to MIT. Okay, so the bottom line here is data with its attributes will help us decide on the class. So the deciding factor here is attributes. So if you want to reduce the entropy and move from the data set to the class, okay, so attributes are the key players here. Okay. So many attributes will be there. Attribute 1, attribute 2. Okay, sorry. So many attributes will be there. It is not one or two attributes, n number of attributes. Okay. Try to remember the decision tree. We understood a decision tree always starts from the root node, meaning that you cannot take all the attributes and start at once to build the decision tree. Okay, you should start with only one single attribute. So among the attributes that I have, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. If it is the case of identifying student, so 1 may be a uniform color, 2 may be ID card. Okay, so please try to relate in those terms. So I cannot put all the attributes in one shot into a decision tree. You know the hierarchical structure of a decision tree. You should start with a root node. So among the available attributes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which attribute to be chosen as a root node? Okay, so that is the first question or issue that you need to handle. Okay. If you remember, while I was explaining concepts related to decision tree, we were assuming. Do you remember? I was telling you assume this node to be a root node, this attribute to be a root node. Okay. For example, if you remember the classification of mammals, okay. So we had assumed some attributes to be a root node. Okay, I was telling you, assume this is the root node.